My friends, every single day that passes, humanity just happens to create something that brings us closer and closer to becoming cyborg like people, becoming dependent on the technology that we create because it just makes our lives a lot easier. And that day couldn't have come any closer with the reveal of Elon Musk's Neuralink. Now, regardless of your opinion of Elon Musk and his many things that he promises and many things that he fails on, this just happens to be one of the few things that he's put his foot down on and seems to have some success, because not too long ago a live stream came out with one of the first users of Neuralink showcasing its abilities, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it because obviously it's a pretty cool thing to see somebody using the Neuralink. And me, with my background, I wanted to explain a couple of things as to why this is a pretty interesting piece of material, how we could potentially use something like this outside of having to implant something into your brain, and what possibly makes this different than just using something like machine learning and a camera. So obviously, if you've kept up with the history of Neuralink, you would probably know that it has a bit of controversy with it. And part of that controversy goes towards the amount of animals that this company has killed. The times where they've talked about how they've operated on monkeys putting in these implants and how they've gone crazy and committed suicide as a result. And it's quite the interesting history, needless to say. It scared a lot of people trying to believe in the product and what it's trying to do for the sake of humanity, when the entire thing is, it's killing the animals that they're testing it on. And whether if you wanted to, believe in everything that Elon Musk was saying about the product or not, it didn't matter, because when you go towards Neuralink's website and you look at their registry on how you can participate in it, it's not like the average person could apply anyway. This is reserved mainly for people who have certain debilitating diseases like quadriplegia, paraplegia, vision loss, hearing loss, the inability to speak, or major limb amputation. So pretty much if you are disabled at a certain point in your life, you can apply for getting the Neuralink. Why? Because it's supposed to try and give you things back that you potentially have lost in the process of you having this debilitation. And whatever it's supposed to do is supposed to help you with that process. And assumingly, if this works, then a normal person would be able to essentially have like a third arm in that regard. But with people like quadriplegia, paraplegia, with these implants, that's supposed to make their lives easier. Well, it just so happens that the person who is the first patient to have the Neuralink happens to be a quadriplegic, and in that case you see him playing games like chess and talks about playing games like Civilization, which, trust me, if I ended up having a debilitating disease, I would probably get Neuralink just so that way I could play Civ 6, because oh my god, dude. it's a fun game. I love that game for everything that it has, and I can't blame the guy for saying that one of the first things that he did was play Civ 6. It's a great game, trust me. Now, as you can see on the website too, they even talk about a bit on the implant and the different components that the implant is constructed of. We have the enclosure, the battery, which looks like a hearing aid battery. It looks kind of small in that sense. So imagine something like maybe like a dime sized device, and that's being implanted right next to your brain. So then we have the electronics too, the threading, and that's pretty much it. And then of course we have the surgical robot, because if a doctor had to put his hands onto your brain, it's going to be pretty dangerous. He might slip and then make something worse out of you. So they have to use a robot in order to surgically implant this device into your brain. So another thing, though, is that when we look at the video, we pretty much see he is using a cursor to move the chess pieces on the website. And he pretty much looks at the screen and then it picks up a piece and drags it to somewhere else, which is by far an amazing technology, don't get me wrong. But can this be done without needing an implant in your brain. Well, I do have an example of something very basic, and I want to show that we can trace our eyes and probably geolocate where our eyes are in relation to the screen. So what we have here is Google's Media Pipe. Now, Google's Media Pipe is a program that is able to look at your entire body and essentially put key points or landmarks on certain parts of your body that are quote unquote important. So in this case, we're going to be looking at our face. Now, Google does have things for your hands or your entire body, but specifically we're going to look at our eyes. Particularly, we're going to try and see if we can get our pupils, because that is mainly what we're going to be using to try and locate where we are looking at in terms of the screen. Now, it's not going to be 100% accurate in terms of what we're going to be looking at specifically, because I'm going to be using the camera that we're looking at right now, so it's going to be off to the side rather than looking directly at the screen, but we're still going to have a pretty decent example. So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at all the different aspects of our face, for particularly right here where it says the irises. So we're taking the browns of my eyes as a rough estimate on where exactly we're going to be looking. So when we hit run, it's going to take a bit to try and load all the different landmarks, but as you can see right on the screen in front of you, that you get the same camera view as me, though it is a bit inverted, but now you have pretty much a location on where my eyes are relative to the screen. And what you can do is obviously look at the different colors based off of left and right, and when I look in different directions, the iris indicator should follow with. Now, with that being said, how can we identify where exactly we're looking at on the screen? Well, there's a couple things that we have to do. Mostly it's going to be math. But what the nice thing is that we can take those different key points and actually identify what part of the eyes we want to look at. Now, the mapping for the irises isn't intuitive. There are some things that they do have an actual map for Media Pipe, like the holistic approach, which is the entire body, where they actually have indicators for your wrist and your elbow. The irises don't necessarily have a good location to find, so you have to essentially play around until you find a location that's pretty good. So the part that I just uncommented right here pretty much is the area that we're going to just grab a section of our eyes on both sides, and then is going to draw a purplish circle in that location. Why are we doing that? Well, the entire point is we want to be able to prove that we can take a specific aspect from the eye and we can see where exactly that locates within our own eyesight. Why is that? Because now we know where these items are in space, at least in terms of what is available on the camera, and then we can take those data points, whatever their X and Y's are, and then try and create new vectors, new lines essentially, that can jut out from the face, so that way when we look around, similar to how when I look around the green and red diamonds that cover my eyes move with my eyes, the same thing can happen if we were to create a new point in space, but somewhere outside of our face, where we're able to use that essentially like a cursor. We can find a midpoint that is in between our eyes that could act as essentially like a mouse, and then look around and have that mouse move with it. Now, here is where things get harder, is we need to be able to look at the thing that we're interested in and move it. So that is another layer of machine learning that we have to go into. Now, this is where it probably differentiates with the Neuralink thing, because how can we tell the computer, hey, I want to move this object? Now, trying to think of it from the standpoint of somebody with quadriplegia, right? You can't use your hands. You don't have a mouse that you can use anymore. You're fully immobile. One thing that people might be able to consider is maybe blinking with your eyes or holding your eyes down. One blink is a left click, two blinks is a right click. But that could be a bit tiresome. So how can we go beyond that threshold? Well, this is where we start having to conceptualize what exactly is going on in the Neuralink. Pretty much, they don't have that information public. Of course, they won't because it's trade secrets. But how can we assume what's going on within the brain to be able to translate something onto the screen to act as clicking, moving things around? That's where it becomes hard to answer, and I think is, in a sense, the magic of what Neuralink can do. Now, of course, Neuralink isn't the only company that has been capable of doing this, but because mainly the controversies, they needed to put something out there that shows, hey, like, we do have a product, and that product does work, and it is improving the lives of those who are using said product. Now, I don't want to discredit everything that's going on with Neuralink. In fact, I think a lot of the stuff that was showcased in the video with the gentleman that was being live streamed using the product gives nothing but positive reinforcement towards the product. And I think that so long as this type of object is being used on human test subjects that unfortunately are incapable of living a normal life, and this gives them some semblance of it, I think that's nothing but good. Or say what you want about Elon Musk. You can have the utmost negative opinion about him, which, trust me, I do. There's definitely a lot of dumb things he's done, but this is, of course, one of the few things that we have from him that offers plenty to people who are incapable of living a normal life. And if Neuralink just happens to be that one step that people can take to get a semblance of living a normal life once again, then by all means, sign up for the surgery. Who knows how long it's going to take? And I'm not advocating for this, because if something bad happens and you hear from me saying, hey, go and get this surgery, I don't want to be responsible for it. It's up to you at the end of the day on whether if you think you qualify for being able to get this surgery and if you think this surgery will improve your life. Now, will a day ever come where an average person such as myself is going to be able to get an implant like this? Well, yeah, it's a tough question to ask because there's a lot of other things that are going on that really haven't been tested, at least from what we can tell, in terms of how we can use this product. Obviously, the battery's rechargeable. It has to be. So then you put like a thing up against your brain to recharge the battery. Does that recharge affect your brain in any sort of way? Does the product itself get hot? And does the water and fluids within your brain help cool it down? Or does it heat things up and could potentially cause brain damage in that section? Who knows? This is part of the trial, and I think with people such as the gentleman here who are willing to put their lives at risk for the sake of seeing if this product can come into a light that is bringing humanity to the forefront of cyborg-like structures, then by all means, you got to think gentlemen like this who are daring enough to do this, whether if they believe that it's one way or the other when it comes to the lives that they live right now, or if there's a true semblance of wanting to improve science overall. Regardless, kudos to the man. He is a brave soul for doing this, and I am utmost happy with the fact that he is going through these trials and admits that though there are some times that it may be a struggle for him, has improved his life enough to where he's able to play Civ 6 once again, which makes me all the more happy because Civ 6 is just a great game. Neuralink, Elon Musk, whatever you want to say about it, you have to admit that this is cool. And it's probably just one of the cooler things that has ever happened in the history of technology in the human race. If you like this kind of content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. What do you think about the live stream that happened as of recent? Do you want to get Neuralink if it ever becomes openly available to the public? Let me know down below. I'll catch all of y'all later. Peace.